Do you know how much it costs to ask somebody for their business? Nothing.
Yep.
Today, we're going to be talking about the 6 steps that every insurance agency owner needs to know to make sure that they're running a successful insurance business. And not only are we reviewing the 6 steps, we are going into detail on the 6 steps. Courtney and I sit down with Matt Dietz today, and that is exactly what we are breaking down. And this episode is so full of golden nuggets and valuable content that we're actually breaking it into 2 episodes. So make sure that you check out both episodes. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have fellow friend and rock star insurance agent and coach Matt Dietz with us today on the Buzz. What's going on, Dietz?
What's up, Weavers? So good to see you too. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, hell yeah, man. We are pumped. And today we're going to be talking about the fundamental processes, systems that you need as an agency owner to run a successful insurance agency today. I don't care if you are just getting started or you are 10 years in, we about to break it down.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. So we've been interviewing a lot of newer agents, and the common theme that keeps coming up is, what's the framework? What's the blueprint? What do I need to know on how to run a business? Maybe they're transitioning from another career. Maybe they're going from producer to agent. So let's break this down. If you had to start, let's go, Dietz.
All right, let's break it down. Get your pen out. Okay. All right.
Ready.
So honestly, the first thing that I try and I love working with newer agents. I love it because they're kind of an empty vessel, and they're excited, they're hungry. They know that they can be successful. They do not know how yet, right? And so they're generally pretty open to learning. So, we come out of the gate. We talk about, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What do you want this to do for you? And we have that conversation with people, and you get different answers, but I want to provide for my family. I want to be able to retire comfortably. I want a boat, I don't know, whatever it is. I want to send my kids to college. That's your starting point. What are we aiming towards here? Why have you chosen this path, right? And it's important for them to think about it. It's important for them to probably write it down. It's important for them to commit to it, right? So in order to get there, this is a business. We have to be driving revenue, and so we have to focus on that right away. A lot of the newer agents that are coming into, say, my company have an opportunity to reap it in the first year because of the program. They earn 400% commission as long as they're hitting numbers. And so if they write $10,000 worth of premium, they're going to make, what are they going to make? 10,000. If they wrote $40,000 worth of premium, they'll make $16,000 in a month. The money is very real, so how do you get to $40,000 in premium, right? So what we do is we break down, we do some math. In the beginning, I'm a big math guy. I actually majored in math when I was in college. So we say, how much premium do you want to write?
Bragger.
Right? I know. So how much premium do you want to write? What's your average premium, per policy? How many policies per household? What's your district closing ratio? And we end up reverse engineering a number. And I'll just throw this number out. Let's say it's 3 quotes a day. Mike, you wrote the book. Thank you for writing the book. 3 quotes. That's exactly what we're talking about. You're the authority on this. So I give this book to all my new agents. So it's really simple to understand. I want people going to bed thinking about this number and waking up thinking about this number. Just if you make 3 quotes a day, you can really change your life. Okay. Now, what's the challenge, right? How the hell do you get 3 quotes a day?
Yeah, right.
It sounds so easy. It sounds so stupid, but it's so hard. There's 10% of the world's population can probably do it, right? And so that's what we work on next. So in order to get 3 quotes a day, I was taught you've got to have 4 or 5 marketing systems that are all driving you business. Some agencies are taught something very different, which is spend thousands of dollars a month on leads and build that system. I do not apply to that system. I think internet leads suck. And so I think there are better ways to do it. So I teach kind of a Main Street model. Now, some of the other things there are two other things that agents have problems with in the beginning, especially if they have staff. And most new agencies have to have a team now. Okay, you have to have 2 staff members that are licensed. One is time management. Okay, you have to be able to manage your time. And there are many different ways to do that. We work with agents on how to manage your time. 2 is you got to learn how to get the most out of your team. All right. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is delegate. You have to learn what to delegate. And that's something that took me years to figure out. And I'm thrilled to pass that knowledge on and get it in their queues early, because I don't want it to take years for them to understand that they can delegate everything away to your CSR. High level stuff, you can delegate everything away, which leaves you more time to market and sell, right? So, and then you have to learn how to market. So learning those 4 or 5 different ways on how to market, that's the other thing that's what we work on next. Like, what are 4 or 5 ways that we can drive business? So we work on that. And then the last thing is you've got to be able to hold your team accountable. This is more specific towards your producers. You have to have producers that have clear and measurable goals, and you have to hold them accountable to hitting those numbers, or they can't stay working for you, okay? Or else it'll be a drain on your resources, your time, and your money. So it might take a couple of times before you build your right team, but once you have your right team, you can reap it, but you can't keep someone that's writing $12K a month in premium. You can't do it. And that's hard too. That took me a long. We've all kept people longer than we should.
Oh, shit.
I want to help people.
That came from the gut. That was real.
That came from years of pain and struggle.
Yeah.
So I want to help. Some of the agents I work with, we run right towards those problems quickly. And I'm like, tell me about your producer. Well, he's writing 14,000. I'm like, does he know that's not his goal? And they're like, no, firm processes on what do you need to write? How do you keep him accountable? What's a corrective action plan look like? Blah, 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 blah. So, that's a simple 101 blueprint. And the really important stuff, that I work with my agents on is, how to do all of that stuff. And it's a lot, but all of it is such a core component to success. And those are the things that we try and impart on our agents early.
Yeah, you're talking about the fundamental principles of what it takes to be a successful business owner. So I want to dive into some of these if you guys are open to it. So, but just to recap real fast, you said in the very beginning, the number one thing you have to figure out is how to drive revenue. Sales cures all. You're a sales organization. You have to be selling. And then I wrote down these, like, obviously, your numbers, which we'll talk about that, but marketing, management of your own time, leading and managing others, and recruiting.
I also included the one before know your numbers is know how you're paid. You need to know your comp plan, and then the accountability as well at the end.
So let's, Matt, if you're open, marketing, you guys want to roll there?
I have a question before we get into marketing. I'm curious you brought up know your district's closing ratio. What does that do for you as a coach?
It gives you a really loose target on like where you should be about, so to hit your number, like that's a pretty big data set, right? So you've got a lot of quotes, a lot of premium. It's the average, for, thousands of quotes and things like that. So it should give you an idea on how much, if you're performing at an average level, like that's what you should be closing. If you're below average or above average, but it should be probably within 5% of that, especially when you're new. Agents that have been around for a while, our closing ratios has been significantly higher than the district because we're referral based, and referral closing numbers are significantly higher. But so depending on where you're getting your business to will determine your closing ratio. If you're mostly referral, it's going to be higher. If it's mostly internet leads, you're probably going to be lower. But that's just a good
baseline.
A good target to help to get these first set of numbers in place.
I love that you're doing that. I would also I would look at two numbers. So I would have the district that I'm in just to see like what's comparable, but I would also see what's the best district, like who's doing the best and what are those closing ratios? Because sometimes we start to feed ourselves a story of my market's tough, nobody else is having success. So then we become part of that instead of looking around going, yeah, their market may be different, but if they can do it, I can at least get closer to that.
Yep.
So I love that. Okay.
Yeah, I was working with an agent last month. He called me. He's like, man, I'm struggling to write new business. And I was like, what's your closing ratio? And he said it was 7%. And I asked him what the district's closing ratio was, and he said it was 20. That's important information to know.
Yeah.
There's a gap. There's something fundamentally wrong in the way that he's trying to grow his business. And what we learned was he quotes a ton. He probably quotes the most in his district, but he's just emailing out quotes and not having conversations. So if you start having conversations, don't drop the number in front of someone until you're on the phone with them or in front of them. The number should show up last. That's something that we teach too. You got to build some emotional content in there. You got to want them. They have to want to buy from you, right? Or else they're just looking at the number. And if your company's not always the lowest, you're going to close 7%. Yeah. You're going to be the lowest 7% of the time, which is 1 out of 14.
And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but as a sales professional, you can get away with that right now. In less than 36 months, if you're just emailing out quotes, you will be replaced by a system that will automatically do it for you. If there's no reason to have conversations, why are we even in the business as humans? Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just where this is my belief system. I do not know this to be true, but this is just where we are headed. Technology is advancing at an extremely fast pace, and it's all you're relying on is an email to sell a product. Why can a robot not do that?
Yeah. Or your volume better be significantly higher, but there's a cost to that volume.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
Nope.
Yep. So let's get into the how. Let's start with marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we are also fans of 5 new business acquisition strategies at all times. You're like, internet leads suck. I know a lot of you are like, internet leads suck, but you're reliant on internet leads. We were in the ballpark of it. Look, internet leads can be a portion of your marketing plan, right? It can be
one.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you're reliant on one marketing strategy, and this is referrals, like this, you could put this with anything. You could do like a center of influence. And if your only revenue source is coming from a mortgage lender, but then the housing market tightens up a little bit, well, shoot, okay, there goes all of our leads. So it doesn't matter if you want to say referrals, you want to say internet leads, you want to say more like centers of influence. If you are reliant on one source for your business and driving revenue, you are putting yourself at giant risk of putting something that's out of your control that negatively affects your business one day.
Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah.
You already kind of told it, but when I started in 2004. So I was marketing to mortgage brokers in 2006, and I built up a great Rolodex full of mortgage brokers that were referring to me, and overnight, man, I remember watching the news, Bear Stearns is out of business. It's just the whole thing went to hell, and I was like, I wonder if this is going to affect my business. Dude, I drove by a Wachovia bank, which doesn't exist anymore, and they had like 5 of my lenders in there. Dude, the fucking sign was off the building when I drove by like the next week. Like, they were gone. Like, people were moving out of states. They were moving to different places. And I was like, they were probably, now I diversified. So I didn't have all my eggs in one basket, but that sucked. Like, it sucked. I lost all of that business for like 2 or 3 years because no one was buying homes. Everybody just started refinancing, which doesn't really help us a whole lot, so that happened. That absolutely happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyone listening, we're saying diversify.
Please diversify. You don't know what's coming next.
No, you don't.
All right. So what's the Main Street model? You say you are more of a Main Street model. I'm curious. What does that mean when you say that?
The Main Street model is based around one 3-letter word, and it's ask. Can you ask people for their business? So what I learned early in my career was that I can sell something to almost anybody that's not a child, right? I mean, so people own houses and cars. So like, I could leave my office right now. I could walk around the block and I could probably come back with 2 quotes. Just admit it. No. That's it. Can you ask people for their business? In the beginning of your career, this is something that's uncomfortable, but I'll use the word necessary if you want to use this model, but you'll just write more business if you'll ask people for their business. Mm-hmm. Good agents and good producers ask people for their business. There's an art to that. There's an art to that conversation. You have to learn how to do it. Again, that's another thing that we teach. But it's something that I learned was crucial. You could come, can you get 2 quotes in a morning? Could you walk up and down your street? Can you start seeing the world through a kind of a different set of eyes, right? If you're at your kid's soccer game, you can be like, you're sitting around, 10, 15 sets of parents, and you're like, well, they drive a nice car. Maybe after the game, strike up a small conversation with them. What do you do? It comes back to you. What do you do? Who's your agent? I'd love to give you a quote, blah, 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 blah. So can you start looking at opportunities? Like, people come to my house and they're like, Matt, do you want to buy pest control? And I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to buy insurance? And I'll flip it around right on them, And so someone owns that company and needs insurance for it. I do that all the time. People come in my agency, restoration companies. Hey, will you refer to us? I don't know. Who's your agent? You can ask anybody for their insurance. So you should always be trying to ask people for their business. That can be one stream, but you should always be looking. If you could teach your team to do the same thing, I do not expect my team members to be working nights or weekends. I don't ask them to. But man, if you have the right people, I've had people come back and they're like, come back on a Monday and they say, I got 2 leads from the family barbecue this weekend. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, And so I don't ask them to do that, but if you could train people in your agency to do the same thing, you can fill up a pipeline really quickly, So ask. It's not the only thing to do, but it's really the mentality that you can have to fill up a quick pipeline.
This changes your life too. When you start asking for what you want, I'm going to tell a quick story too. Yeah. So we were in a restaurant and it was a fancy schmancy Italian restaurant. I'm with my family and they had a lot of unique dishes. Let's just say that. So my family sits down and they wanted chicken Alfredo, and chicken Alfredo is not on the menu. We're sitting there and I'm like, just ask the server.
Yeah.
If you can have chicken Alfredo. And they're like, you can do that? Like, you can absolutely do that. And they asked, and they had a version of it. And they're like, yeah, we can make, we can see what we can come up with, whatever. But there was this unlock in their mind. And I think so many times we put these blocks on ourselves of like, if it's not an obvious thing, I shouldn't ask for it. It's like, no, if there is something that you want, if you want to improve in your career, you want to make more money, you want chicken Alfredo at a fancy Italian restaurant, the first step that you have to learn is ask for what you want.
Right.
People can't show up and deliver if they don't know what you need and you want.
Yeah. Like if people, especially in the beginning of your career in this job, a lot of people will sit back and wait for their phone to ring. It doesn't. It doesn't ring. Nobody knows what you do.
Go out of business.
Nobody knows what you do. You can build the fanciest website in the world, but it doesn't do shit unless people know that it's there. You know what I mean? You can put a sign outside your door, but like nobody shops by that anymore, So you have to go. You got to go get it.
Yeah.
And over time, if you do it right, then the phone starts ringing because you're doing the right things. You're taking care of people. You're building referral networks and relationships, and that's what we're aiming towards. But you have to be this person for a while. You do not have to be this person forever. Okay. So it's really important. You got to step out of this skin and do this for, hell, do it for a couple years. Commit to it. Like this is what you're looking at. This is what you signed up for. Yep. Okay. So
2 to 3 years.
That mentality is so important. I was lucky that I had it. I was desperate. I didn't have any money. We just bought a house. My wife was pregnant and I couldn't afford the house. And I was like, so I had to go get it. I had to go get it. And I didn't have a marketing budget. I had to do it on $0. Do you know how much it costs to ask somebody for their business? Nothing.
Yep.
So,
and okay, we can relate. We had just got married. We had $5,000 to our name, started the Scratch Agency. So, Matt, I feel that I don't even want to go back to the pain we felt back then. All right. But what you're talking about is a skill set that serves someone their entire life. And it's a skill set that, like, if you have a problem with rejection, if you just do this every day, you're going to get over the rejection pretty quickly. If you have an issue with even confidence, like, this is going to give you more confidence, communication, the many skills that you learn just from this one little thing that you just shared, Matt, is absolutely powerful in what it does for you as just an individual and as a sales professional, just with the little things you learn along the way that will help you get much further in your career and life.
And like new agents, I hear a lot that they're drinking through a fire hose, and I understand that. But new agents have such a competitive advantage because they have hunger. Like they have to make this happen. And so once you feel that, if you can tap back into that, maybe you're 10 years in, maybe you're 20 years in, maybe you're just a few years in, and you're like, oh, I've lost that. You need hunger. Like that is the thing that you need.
Burn the freaking boats, man.
Yeah, that changes the game. You're willing to start asking the question.
The reason newer agents won't do it, I mean, so much of what we fail on or don't excel in is because of fear, right?
Yeah.
But you got to identify that fear. You have to sit in that for a minute and be like, what am I afraid of?
Yep.
It's not real fear. I call it fake fear, right? It's like, you're not going to get hurt. You're not going to die. You're not going to go out of business. Like someone's going to tell you no.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it hurt your ego a little bit? Maybe, but like, you've got to reframe that and be like, it's not real fear, So once you can identify that fear and you can be smarter than it, like, then you can get after it. It takes a minute. It's hard. Like, it's hard to do. I'm not going to say that it was easy because it wasn't. Very few people can do it well. We know that. Everyone thinks they can do it well. They can't, and so, but if you can identify that fear and be present, be fallible, be willing to learn, you have a better chance of succeeding.
It's like any other skill set. It's like anything we've ever done in life. It's why Kobe Bryant went to the gym every morning before his team at 4 a.m. and shot free throws, right? Like, it's like any other skill that you develop. It takes persistence, it takes time, and it takes doing it over and over and over to master that skill. Like, very few people are just good at it. Like, I've stumbled across very few people that are just good at sales, that are just good at going up and asking people. It just doesn't happen.
No, if they're good, it's because they've had more reps, they've had more practice. And so there's something that happens in our brain when we become adults. It blows my mind because I go through this. I know, Matt, you go through this. Michael, you go through this too. But when you watch children learn things, they fail over and over and over and over again. Like when you're watching a baby learn how to walk and they fall, it's not like we immediately are like, okay, well, you suck. Walking's not for you. Well, that's out. They
guess I'll crawl the rest of my life.
Yeah, like they keep going. And that's how they learn is they're like, okay, well, I need to put my foot here. Like they're learning, their body's giving them all these cues. When we become adults, we have this belief that we're going to be great when we're beginners. And that's not how it works. When you are learning something, you don't look good. Like looking good comes later. Like this is just the price of really learning the process and gaining more confidence. And robbing somebody of that is robbing them of the gift. If you just went from, I know nothing to, I'm great at asking for whatever I want, and you didn't go through the process, you miss all the things you learn in that. What?
Oh, I'm just thinking of the golf game yesterday. I've been practicing for 7 weeks. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I've seen some progression. We're on like the 16th hole, and I just chunked the shit out of the ground. And Courtney's like, what the hell?
But it's hard.
It's it's like any other skill. Like it takes repetition and time and pushing. And Matt, you said this. Pushing through fear sucks. It is so freaking scary. But when you do push through the fear and then you push through it again and you push through it again, it builds that little confidence muscle that we're all needing and we're all looking for. And so if you are a new agent, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, just go for it. I mean, fear can get in the car. It just doesn't get the wheel. It can be in the car. Let it ride shotgun so you don't die. But understand that fear really is just a change in our breath pattern too. Instead of being nervous, I'm so excited. Like that's just fear without the, like it's just a change in breath pattern. So
yeah.
All right. So let's get into, I love marketing. Do we want to tackle any more marketing?
Matt,
Let's riff through some strategies.
We can riff through.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, more marketing. So we want to try and identify 5 ways to get business. All right, let's identify 5 ways. Let's identify 7 or 8. Okay. So we got internet leads. I'll give you that as your freebie. But all these other things we're going to teach should eventually get internet leads out of your system. Okay. That's internet leads in my mind should be a means to an end. Okay. So asking people for business, I mean, that can be one right there. Mortgage brokers are the top of the food chain for us when it comes to that. That's a dance too. You've got to figure out how to do that. You got to meet the right people. It's like dating. Okay. You've got to find the right mortgage brokers that are going to refer to you. You have to give value. Those are things that we teach, and those are really important. Social media can be good if you're good at it, right? So if you can start curating good content that gets eyeballs on it, and you're teaching people the right things, and you become known as the person in your town that's the expert in insurance, because when people think of insurance, which they do once a year, and they say, God, I need to shop, who should I go? You want to be the first name that pops in their head because you've been in their timeline all year teaching a ton of good shit about insurance. Okay. So now that takes a little bit of time, but you can do that. Let's see what else. You can do, you can raffle, you could work an event. Okay. So you can work an event and you could raffle off something. There's an art to that too. You want the thing you're raffling off to be directly, connected to the population that is going to be at that event. So if you got a kids fair or something like that, and you're going to be there all day, you want to have something that brings the kids over, because then the parents will come over, and then you got to raffle off something that the parents would be like, ooh, that would be cool. And like, you get a bunch of leads and you work those. Okay. Network marketing groups have been just a cornerstone of my growth, building relationships within the community, being surrounded by other successful business owners, having conversations with them, asking them for their business, asking them for referrals. You want to pump up your Google reviews as fast as you can, because that will absolutely make your phone ring overnight. If you do it right, everybody shops by searching now. Okay. So you got to get your Google page up and running successfully. You do those things, you're off to a really good start.
You rattled good ones, buddy. So I've got, and I just made a list so internet leads, referrals, centers of influence, cold calls, community events, networking groups, direct mail, SEO, paid ads, social media, door knocking. I mean, there's lots of things you can do.
Absolutely.
You just got to figure out what best fits your business model.
Yeah, and your personality.
Yep.
And I love the one thing you said. You kept saying it's an art. Because you weren't naturally good at it, right, Matt? Like, you learn along the way. Like, shit, that was a mistake. I'll do this differently next time.
Right.
Oh, my gosh, I'm trying to give away this at this event when there's... What's going on? He's like...
Right.
Learning.
I mean, one of the best marketing things I have ever done was...